Before we get started, because I know how these things can go on the internet, all of my choices are my own. They are completely subjective. You're going to disagree with most of them. I've got a new Pokemon card pack to open. But remember, this doesn't really matter. My choices don't invalidate your opinions, nor vice versa, so just have fun with this. Alright, here's a quick thing. I don't know where I'm putting this or where you're seeing it, but for the Steam Game of the Year nominations, I thought I would quickly go through my 11 choices, or I guess 9 choices, and tell you what I picked and why. Could be fun. Firstly, we're going to go from the bottom up because it's more fun that way. The Sit Back and Relax award I gave to Brighter Shores because, I mean, it's literally the definition of sit back and relax. You click a thing, you watch your character do the thing, you collect the loot, or the fish, or the whatever, you sit back and you relax while you play it. It's literally a game made to be like a second monitor game. It's a game I play while I listen to audiobooks, stuff like that. Very much in the vein of RuneScape, of course. I did consider nominating Colouring Pixels, because I was listening to a ton of audiobooks earlier this year while playing Colouring Pixels, which is this little paint by numbers game, but unfortunately that didn't release this year, and most of these, you had to select a game that released this year. Others seem to have some arbitrary requirements too, which was annoying, but anyway. Up next, we've got the Outstanding Story Rich Game Award. I don't think I've actually played all that much that I could nominate here. I put Persona 3 Reload in. I haven't actually finished Persona 3 Reload, but I put it here because I did love the world and the story that it was telling. If I'm being honest, if I could vote outside of Steam, this would be more of like a mock-up between Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail and World of Warcraft The War Within, even though neither of those even are the best that they've ever been in terms of storytelling, but they have still been pretty damn good. But yeah, for the Steam Awards, I put Persona 3 Reload. I've got no hours in Persona 3 Reload on Steam, but luckily it still let me nominate it because I played it on Game Pass. Up next, we've got Best Soundtrack Award I also gave to Persona 3 Reload. I wanted to give this to Guild Wars 2 because I've played a lot of Guild Wars 2 this year, but this was a selector game that has released this year, kind of a thing. So I gave it to Persona 3 Reload because it's still in my damn head. It's fantastic. I want to keep playing Persona 3 Reload. I need to get back to that game. Up next, we've got Best Game You Suck At Award, and this one was difficult because it didn't actually come up with any eligible games. It seems to have like recommendations as to what games fit this bill, which is interesting. But I actually decided to go ahead and put in Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, not because it's an overly difficult game, but because I never really got to grips with the whole monster mashing thing. That's not what it's called, but like when you synthesizing, when you synthesize two monsters together and you start from level 1 and you've got a stronger monster for it, but you've got to go grind them from level 1 all over again. I never quite got to grips with when to do that, or like which monsters to synthesize. I never quite got to grips with that system. I've played about half of this game, I would say. I finished Act 1, I feel like I'm halfway through Act 2. And I do intend to go back and finish it at some point. You know me, I take breaks from games, I never just play them all in one go. But yeah, I do kind of suck at Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. So while this might be a weird and rare choice for this award for this game, I wanted to get it in the awards somewhere for games that I've played this year, and I think it fits well here for me. Up next, we got Most Innovative Gameplay Award. This one was another one that was quite difficult for me to figure out what to put in, because I wanted to put Brighter Shores, but one of the main criticisms with Brighter Shores is, in terms of gameplay, it's not really that innovative in terms of like, I mean, in some ways it is, in some ways the game design is neat, but maybe I should have given it to Brighter Shores. But I just think about how when you level up, you get like basically just reskinned versions of things you were already doing, and I feel like voting for innovative for that would be a mistake. So while I feel like it's both innovative and not innovative at the same time in a weird way, so I didn't give it to that. But I couldn't really think of anything to give it to out of what I've played this year, at least here on Steam. So I gave it to Ballance, which is a re-release of a very old game, but it was innovative for its time. It's a physics-based ball platforming game where you've got to try and not roll off the edge, so I thought it's kind of a meme pick, but it also kind of works, so I gave it to Ballance. Up next, we've got the Outstanding Visual Style Award. This one was pretty easy. I gave it to Dragon Quest III HD 2D. Of course, it's not the first HD 2D game we've ever seen, but it is a little bit more colourful than the typical HD 2D game that we tend to see. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it is, of course, a really fun way to remake an old JRPG like Dragon Quest III. So I voted for that one. I think that one's going to be possibly a contender this year among like just general votes for outstanding visual style. It's gorgeous. A rare popular vote from me. Up next, Better with Friends award. I put Enshrouded, even though I've never played Enshrouded with friends. I spent some time in this game this year. I really liked it, and I really want to be able to play it with friends. And you can do that. Yeah, if it wasn't limited to games released this year, I would probably have put Astroneer, because I think I played a lot of Astroneer. I think it was this year I played a lot of Astroneer with Reese. But yeah, there's Enshrouded, and it's fun, and I want to be able to play it with Reese. I mean, I am able to play it with Reese. Reese just doesn't own the game yet, so... But it would be fun. Next up, Best Game on Steam Deck Award. Guess who doesn't own a Steam Deck? Next up, Labor of Love Award. I feel like I give this to No Man's Sky every year, but every year it fucking deserves it, so I'm gonna give it to No Man's Sky. This was also an opportunity to give it to Guild Wars 2. And I did agonize over that for a little bit, because I played a decent amount of Guild Wars 2 this year, and they released a new expansion this year, which, as far as I'm aware, it was well received. But if I'm being honest about it, you know, No Man's Sky gives more content for free because No Man's Sky doesn't charge for its content. It's still just kind of like a heavyweight in this category that would feel, you know, it would feel rude to skip over it for something else just because I've voted for it before, when it's continually a labour of love. And Guild Wars 2, while it is a labour of love, they continually update that game, of course, with expansions. It's also kind of like the MO for an MMO, so it felt like a bit of a cop-out to give it to Guild Wars 2. Unfortunately, I didn't find space to give Guild Wars 2 any awards this year, despite playing it so much, mostly because it had to be games released within this year, but yeah, Guild Wars 2 is definitely up there for sure for me this year. Next up is VR. I don't have VR. I don't know anything about VR. All of these games just look like made-up games to me that I've never seen before, apart from Metro, Blade and Sorcery. But anyway, the Game of the Year is the next category, and it's not my actual Game of the Year. I'm going to throw that out there now. I'm still deciding on that. I always do like an end of the year kind of blog post and video where I write about my games of the year, and they don't have to be limited to the 2024 game releases, because I don't always play 2024 game releases. But as far as the games I've played on Steam goes, it is going to be Dragon Quest III, which I've still only played like 8 or 9 hours of, but you know when you're playing a game and you just know ahead of time, like, oh yeah, this is the best thing I've played on Steam this year. Yeah, there's that. So because I just didn't have a lot of choice for Steam games. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm way more into Steam as an ecosystem than I was this time last year. I've definitely kind of returned to Steam over the course of this year, but like, I'm not going to give it to the Crew Mode Fest, because that game has some issues, and while it's a great racing game that I love, it's not like Game of the Year material. Dragon Quest Builders isn't as good as Dragon Quest Builders 2. It's only nominatable because it only just came out on Steam this year. Wayfinder is fun, but I dropped off it after 4.4 hours. Planet Crafter is also fun, dropped off. There's just not much Game of the Year material here. I considered Brighter Shores, but again, it's got some issues that they need to work out. It's definitely going to be fairly high on my personal Game of the Year list, but I just feel like as a solid game experience goes, I've got to give it to Dragon Quest III. And you know, it's currently sitting at mixed reviews for some reason. I've only just fucking seen that. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for invalidating my opinion. But it's just brilliant. It's Dragon Quest. I want them to do this for every Dragon Quest game, and I'm gonna reward that. Obviously, I think I might prefer like Dragon Quest V HD 2D or Dragon Quest 9 HD 2D. But like, as far as games that have come out this year that I've played on Steam goes, Dragon Quest 3 is it for me, I think, and I'm gonna play more of this to justify it. But it's not just the game you've played the most of, is it? Anyway, that's gonna be my picks for the Steam stuff. Thank you very much for tuning in. I guess this is a YouTube video, I've decided, so there's that. Let me know what you nominated if you like, and I'll catch you in whatever I make next.